Okay, hi everyone. So I'm Syuhaidah, but most of you in hall know me as Shu. And I'm running for the Social Services Director for JCRC 14-15. And I'm a current Year 1 Sociology major from FASS, and I stay in D Block. So I'll try to make my speech as short, sweet, and as memorable as possible, while trying to convince you that I can do just as good a job as a freshie into JCRC as any other senior in Eusoff. Okay? So I'll just start with a short background of myself in relevance to social service. So as Amelia pointed out, I did have involvement in outside social services. So for the past 3 to 4 years, I've actually been involved in a non-profit organization called Willing Hearts Soup Kitchen. So what we do is that we spend the morning chopping vegetables, we cook and we pack food, and Willing Hearts, they deliver like thousands of food packages to poor parts in Singapore, and they give it to the elderly people and disabled people as well. So, but lately I haven't been really involved because one of the regulars is Auntie Amy, and I actually talked to her, I told her that I'm going to go to uni, I want to stay on campus, so I'm really sorry that I can't really come back and help out as often. And she told me something that really struck me, and it showed me what social service is, what essentially social service is about. So she said that, my dear, doing good and helping people is not about staying in one place. It's about helping in many places within your means. And I thought that was very true, and that is what social services is about. So that's just a short story about me before I move on as to why I want to become SSE next year. Okay, so initially I had no thought of joining JCRC because I thought that I'm just a freshie, maybe it's too big a role for me. But when my EBC heads, Amelia Ng came up to me and asked me whether I'll be interested in being the social services director next year, all I thought of was, why not? Because I have nothing to lose, but I only have so much to give because I have a lot of passion for what I do. So, yeah. And being an SSD in Eusoff, it means that I have to be in charge of EBC, expats, and Green Com. And I feel that I already have a very good understanding of this wing because I myself, as Amelia pointed out, am a member of Salvation Army as well as expats. And also not only that, right, like all the incoming heads of the committees next year, they are actually my batchmates, and they are my friends that I've either worked with, like for expats and Salvation Army, or even in Green Com that I'm not very familiar with and I'm not inside, right. I have blockmates who have been, that are very active in it, and they have been giving me a lot of insight in Green Com, and it really made me understand the community better. So I feel that this already gave me a better position for me to empathize and to articulate their concerns more and help them in the best way possible. Because ultimately, being in JCRC, right, is the bridge between Eusoffians and SCRC, correct? But as a social service director, right, if any concern from my wing that I have to raise to the SCRC, I feel that I will have a first-hand opinion on this because I have been in the programs and I will be better able to express their concerns and help them in the best way possible. Okay. So also in EDC, as Amelia pointed out, I was the junior program manager for Salvation Army. And this gave me the opportunity to work with the heads, and it gave me a better insight as how EBC is to run. And not only that, as JPM, I planned the post-exam party for the Salvation Army, and it taught me something. That it is one thing to be a member of social services, but it is another to actually head and see my visions come into place. And it's really heartwarming also. And also in expats, we also have our volunteering services session, and for one of them, they actually took up my suggestion of going to Willing Hearts, which was the soup kitchen that I was active in. And it was very nice to see my friends sacrifice their Saturday to go help out a cause that I strongly believed in. So that was one of the reasons why I was motivated to be an SSD, because I want to see the visions that I'm very passionate about put into place on a big scale. That's one of the things. And essentially, I feel that to do social services, you need to have the heart and the passion. You need to have the heart and the passion to do it. And for me, I want to help the 3 committees achieve their aims, all while hoping to influence Eusoffians to be more driven in helping the less fortunate as well. Okay, so moving on to the direction that I want social services in Eusoff to go. So in case all of you are not familiar with EBC, EBC has 3 sub-wings. So there is Salvation Army, there is Elder Services, and there's Mines. And actually, it's harder than what you all think it is. Okay, so our members, they have to give to care and give love to people who are not their grandparents, who are not their siblings, and who are not their friends. And in honest fact, right, some of the people that we work with, they are very difficult, a bit more difficult to handle, in a sense that for Mines, our clients are intellectually disabled, as well as for Salvation Army, the kids may come from difficult backgrounds. So which is why I propose, if we could get help from the hall and get fundings, I want to give training to my members because I want to make their jobs easier. From my own opinion, right, when my own personal recount, when I first joined Subway Training, it was quite stressful for me because the kids you really don't know how to handle them sometimes. So with real professional training, right, it will really help my members not to be stressed about this thing because they are, after all, doing a good job, doing a good deed. So this is to make their life easier as well. And to borrow an idea that expats is doing well is that they always have these bonding and sharing sessions, which I feel is very essential, and it always gives the members a midway point to realize that why they even joined this in the first place. Sometimes, especially in EBC, right? Sometimes the members will see it as it's very routine. Like week in, week out, they go in. Yeah, after a while, their attendance starts dropping because they just see it as something, just a CCA, that I go for my CCA points and stuff like that. But sometimes they forget that we go there not for us. We don't go there for CCA points. We go there because there are people who expect us to come every single week, and we are disappointing them in ways that maybe we do not see it. So, which is why I feel that to have perhaps through day camps or just bonding sessions, right, it will really help the members realize to emphasize that social services take a lot of heart and commitment. So it's just to remind them as well. Okay, so for expats, some of you may know that this year there was an introduction of the module, and I personally take the module. And from the module, there's a lot of aspects that is very good. For example, we have risk planning, we have language classes to learn Khmer for when we go to Cambodia, we have scenario planning, we have proposals to have hands-on training and stuff like that, which I think is very beneficial for the members of expats. But the thing is, for all this, is not accessible to all expats members. Okay? Yeah, sorry. Okay, so it's not accessible to all expats members. And if we can get help from the hall, it would be good that we can make it accessible to everyone in expats. And I realized one thing is that some of my friends, they actually take OCIP and they are not in expats, but perhaps outside, right, they don't have these things where they train them to learn the language or to have hands-on training or stuff like that. So if this were to be implemented for Eusoff expats, I want it to be accessible and open for anyone who feels that it will benefit them when they go for their own OCIP, even though they are not in expats. So that's another thing that I hope that can be done. Yeah. Okay, so okay. And what I got from talking to some of the members of GreenCom, right, that the awareness level of the things that they're currently doing seems to be relatively low, and they have little support for what they have in their program. Because for now, some of you may only associate GreenCom with the interblock recycling program, but in actual fact, they actually do much more than that, and they have been active in other areas as well. So as SSD, right, I want them to have their efforts recognized, and also to show that to be more prominent in hall as well. And if you all don't know, right, at GreenCom, they are actually very active in inter-hall commitments as well. So after many years, this year they actually finally won the Inter-Hall Environment Awards. So I feel that it's something to celebrate, and it's something to be motivated, so for them to continue it as well. Okay? And yeah, so as SSD, it will be my onus to make sure that their prominence is kept up and to make Eusoffians understand their program better as well. Okay, so another way that I feel that we can improve what we currently have, right, is to have more inter-cross-committee interaction. Because even though that aspects, EBC and GreenCom, right, they seem very autopilot and very isolated, right, in actual fact, they are more similar than different. And like some of the things that GreenCom does, right, Expat also does. In the sense that when GreenCom collects newspapers, right, Expat also does, just that on a different scale. So why not collaborate? And also it will benefit both committees as well. Because for expats, right, when they go out to collect newspapers from HDB flats, right, is to raise funds so that we can buy the stuff to bring to Cambodia and benefit the villagers as well. So, and when I was talking to the GreenCom members, sometimes they collect the papers and the newspapers from the Eusoffians, right? They don't know what to do with it also. So why not benefit another committee that is under the same social services wing? So if this is, I would definitely look into this if I were to be SSE here. Because, yeah. Okay, so, and also Jared did a great job of introducing and planning the blood donation drive last year. and yeah, so like, this is something that I feel that I really want it to continue in Eusoff. But of course, because it was the first implementation, there's always more room for improvement. And if I were to take over from where he left off, of course I want to improve it and make it more accessible to Eusoff. And it's really good that it's in Eusoff where you don't have to go out and donate your blood and stuff like that. So then, yeah, so you, sorry. Okay, so anyway, yeah. So that's one thing that I really want to work on, and that to make things more accessible for Eusoffians, and this could be done from perhaps events such as the blood donation. Okay, so I've said a lot, but I just want to sum up that. Oh wait, sorry. Okay, so lastly, there's another effort that, if feasible and possible, right, is that I want to perhaps have a follow-up for FLAG. Because every year we go for FLAG, we raise funds for charitable organizations, and for like last year we had mines. But sometimes I feel that it may seem very insincere or very one-off thing. So if this is possible and if it's feasible, I will look into perhaps having another fundraiser or just a food drive or whatever for whatever organization we have for FLAG next year, to perhaps have a follow-up, only if it's feasible and if it's possible to have it implemented. Okay, so I gave a lot of my visions and the things that I want done as SSD, but I just want to say that the reason why I want to encompass Eusoffians into social services is because, unlike your sports or your dance or your performing arts, right, you do not need a talent to be part of social services. So I feel it's very intrinsic, and everyone has the heart and capacity to be part of social services. And I'm not saying that I want it to take precedence over like or sports or performing arts or anything. I just want it to work hand in hand. And again, I just want to emphasize that all I aim for is to make social services accessible to every Eusoffian. Okay? So to conclude, I would just like to reiterate the vision I have in mind. I'm so sorry, I didn't mention my vision just now. But basically there are three main things, which is to improve what we currently have and to train the members, to make our fundamentals more stable, and also to try to make social services more accessible to every Eusoffian. So those are the three main things that I hope can be done if I get to be SSD. And I hope from my speech that I give you all a better understanding of my visions and aim, and I know that some of you may still be having doubts that maybe this freshie don't have what it takes to be part of the JCRC, but I hope you all see that I have a lot of passion for what I do, and I want to prove my worth as well. And I'm sure that all of you are in Eusoff for different reasons. Some of you may feel that you're here for the sports, or for the performing arts, or for the people, or whatever. So maybe I feel that perhaps I'm in Eusoff because of my passion for social services. Yeah, thank you.
I just have a comment, and you just reply to according to comment. Okay, I think since you're raising funds for your OCIP, right? Would it be smarter for you to spend the time to work for a company instead of collecting newspapers for the money?
Okay, so you're basing on what we do for expats, is it? And stuff like that?
I think for any other committees, the same.
Okay, so because for the newspaper collection, I raised it up because of expats and for reform. And for expats, you have to understand that our program is not just like any other OCIP to raise funds and stuff like that. For expats, I feel it's very special. It's a year-long program where you bond with people, right? When you go there, it's not just about raising funds and helping people. It's about all the friendships you make, right? And to make a great team, right? So that when you go there, it's out of sincerity and stuff like that. So when we collect newspaper, right, it's partly to raise funds, but when we do it, right, it's really we spend one whole day working together, slogging it out, but through it, right, we understand our teammates better. It's part of our bonding program as well. So that's one thing that expect does. And okay, so if I want to make it more, this could be something that I could raise more awareness also as to why expats do what they do. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, hi Shu.
Hi,
I'm Gary, year 1 FSS. I just have a question. Actually, two questions, because I'm in Mines and ES. First question is, I feel that EVC, right, according to my own experience, even though it's EVC itself, right, it's one like big conglomerate of 3 different wings. I feel there's a lack of interaction between, for example, I'm in Mines and ES, right? I don't really interact with people from SA. So how do you actually plan to provide a platform for EVC members to interact within ourselves? Because the reason why we all join EVC is because we have passion for society, right? But I only see people from ES because I'm ES. I only see people from Mines because I'm from Mines. In fact, I see for Mines, right, I only see my group people that goes to Mines on the same day. I don't even see I don't interact much lah, other than the supper and stuff. So first question is interaction. How do you actually plan to interact? As you provide the interaction platforms for within EVC.
Okay.
Second is, I realized for EVC itself, right? There are, okay, for example, in ES, right, I realized there's a, okay, generally like EVC, the proportion of people, right, like the profile of the people, right, are very stratified. Like for example, ES.
Okay.
ES, I see less Singaporeans, for example. Like for SAS, a lot of Singaporeans. So how do you actually try to promote the different wings to have a more varied proportion of Eusoffians? Yeah.
Okay, so I address your first question, which is the lack of interaction between the three wings. So which is why in one of my visions, right, is to have all this bonding session, right? I'm not trying to focus on each sub-wing. I want it to be a whole EVC thing also. Because to me also I believe that EVC is EVC. It shouldn't be divided so isolated as well. So through our sharing session, right, some of us, the what skills we learn from handling people in ES, right, and Minds, right, can also be used for SA, right? So like all these mass sharing session, right, it could, if it's feasible, we will have it, and we will bounce off of each other's ideas. So in a way, from as what Experts is doing, right, we have all these sharing session and reflection, right. It makes us understand each other better as well, and it be born in a sense as well. So I hope that if it is possible, then we can have more of those sharing sessions and sharing platform and through trainings as well, so we can bond among the three sub-wings. Okay, so the next one for the stratification of races and stuff and nationality or whatever. So, sorry. So anyway, I feel that to me it shouldn't really matter as to what kind of composition your wing make, because ultimately you're doing it for a good cause. So if you have members, right, we are always happy to have members to help us fulfill this good cause, because that's what EVC is about. But of course, it is better to have a mix, and that, which is why right now, before we start service, right, we have trial sessions. So perhaps, maybe because people don't see ES as attractive or what, so maybe we can have more trial session for a longer period and to make it on a larger scale to raise awareness to more Eusoffians, to show them that, hey, maybe this is something that you will have the passion for. Maybe right now there's not enough awareness, I'm not sure, but maybe we can up that so that Eusoffians are more aware and more they understand better to this. So maybe we can attract people from more composition of races and nationality and stuff like that. Yeah, that's it. Okay then. Hey.
I actually have two questions. The first one, you mentioned about increasing the bonding sessions, for example, expats. I was from expats, so from what I know, the expats workload is kind of heavy lah. So how do you think you can attract people to go down for these bonding sessions?
What I mentioned in my speech wasn't increasing the bonding session of expats. I say to borrow what expats is trying to do, which is the bonding sessions, to bring into EVC, so that to have a similar thing, because we don't have it currently, and perhaps it would be good for the EVC members as well. And so, yeah.
Okay. Then for my second point, for Green Com, right, there has been increased prominence lah, from what I can tell, my friends and I. They increase prices and stuff like that. But then you mentioned that, okay, I'm not sure they mentioned this. Do you mention trying to increase the prominence of Green Com?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that?
Okay, firstly, Green Com, I feel that their efforts are not being recognized enough, because they actually do a lot of activities, and people see Green Com as isolated events, like interblock cycling, there's all Green Com does. So we don't want that. We want people to see what other activities Green Com does. Okay, firstly, I feel Facebook is a very good medium, especially Channel EH. And talking to some of the Green Com members, right, they say that they want this more of this awareness, more of this publicity as well. And also, perhaps because their competitions may be very isolated, perhaps they can have more events that can incorporate more Eusoffians as well. That one, I will have to talk to them to figure out what kind of events that they want to do that is in line with their own Green Com visions as well. So as to, I feel that with incorporating more Eusoffians, of course the prominence will increase as well. Yeah.
Hi Shu. Okay, so I'm Bella. I'm from EDC. So for example, you come up with suggestions for the bonding thing, right? So how are you going to make sure that people go for it? Because let's say for the EVC supper that's coming up, we even have trouble trying to get people to go for that. And then the second thing is, the issue of people signing up for points and going for it. So like let's say now the point thing, we gave them the points already and then people stop coming. What will you do about that?
Okay, I'll address the second part first. Because I feel through this bonding session and sharing session, right, again, it will remind them as to why they even joined in the first place. We want to remind them that you joined this for the commitment, and when we took you in, right, or when we are one family, EBC family, right, we expect that commitment. So I feel sometimes maybe they forget, or they just feel that, oh, there's no interaction, like everyone's just doing their own thing. So maybe with this interaction, they have motivation to go back to have their attendance, because they realize that, oh, my friends are going, I'm going for my friends as well. I'm not just going this for myself, and I'm not isolated in that sense. And firstly, the bonding session, right? How you get people to turn out. Okay, I think food is a very good motivation. Come for food. But of course, as this is also up to the heads of EBC. I feel like when I was JPN, I tried to get to know my members as much of my members. So if as a head, also I would expect working with the EBC heads, the subwing heads, sorry, then I would expect them to have this kind of a relationship with their members, so that I would depend on them to bring their members in as well. So, you know, it's overall we are one family, one EBC family, doing for a good cause, so yeah.
True, I mean, I'm also in Salvation Army. So my question is there any current measure of the impact that they are making, and how efficient is Salvation Army and the rest of the voluntary organizations doing in terms of helping our beneficiaries? Do you have any plans for this?
Okay, impact-wise, I may not be so familiar with ES and Minds, but for Salvation Army, I feel that because we've been with them for many years, that sometimes it just became like a norm, that there's no real measure. So it's just like, oh yeah, we expect people from Eusoff to come in every year, you know? So perhaps it will be good to have measure of effectiveness. I mean, working with things like with organizations like Salvation Army, we want to know from their side how they feel that we could do better as well. So perhaps that's a measurement of our impact. Maybe what we're doing right is just technical, because we've been repeating every single thing. But maybe over the times, their needs change as well from us Eusoffers who are helping to volunteer. So maybe there's no real looking into that. There are real changes, because we just assume that everything's okay because we're doing the exact same thing as last year, and last year was okay, and stuff like that. So we will look into maybe new needs from this organization as well, so that we can address to it to improve ourselves and to give better service to them as well. Okay? So.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Hi Shu, this is Kawan from year 3. I just want to ask you, every year I see that for the social services side, there is always more Eusoffians, more demand than supply. So there are always more Eusoffians wanting to join the different comms, more than the spaces we have. So what do you think is a good or suitable criteria to actually select these people for EBC, for experts and for income? Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Because firstly, I need the people to understand that even though we are having 3 subwings, right, the people over there is very limited. Like when we go for Salvation Army to tutor kids, right, they don't have a lot of kids, you know, they have very limited kids. So we try to assign 1 tutor for 1 kid. And we need to understand when we are selecting our members, right, they need to understand the level of commitment is really very high. So there's really, like, emphasis cannot be enough that before they even embark into joining us, right, they need to understand that we need to make them understand that the commitment, and you need to have a heart for it and a passion for it. And of course, but I don't feel that criteria. So experience would be a good thing. If you had experience, or it would be good to always share, not only because you know how to handle these people or the people that we are working with, but also to help your other members as well. So that's one thing. So experience would be a good thing. But of course, I don't want to make it, even though we have a limited quota, I don't want to make it seem like we are so close and exclusive, because that's not what I want. So of course, even though we have a permanent list sort of, I feel like everyone is welcome to come to help out. Because even Salvation Army, right, sometimes you go there and play with the kids and it's very fun. And you know, I feel like it's always open to you if they want to come, even though it's not their official to say. Yeah.
Sorry, I want to continue. So besides the experience part, which is actually you can see is tangible, you can see from their CV or whatever, how do you assess or see the other parts? And also, second part, since there's always this more demand than supply, do you have any plans to create more supply? Maybe there are more bigger pool of beneficiaries we can help.
Okay, for intangible, I feel that, okay, maybe we can, of course during interview, we will have questions and stuff like that to see what your response are. And I mean, it's only human nature to see what kind of person you are from your responses. We won't, if you feel that your answer isn't in line to what our whole EBC vision is, then of course we will pick someone else who gives a better answer than you do. That's one thing. And yeah, okay. And another thing will be, creating supply, right? Because right now, to have our wings, there's always the prospect of opening another sub-wing or going to another organization or something. But of course, it takes a lot real consideration about how feasible it is and stuff like that. So if it's possible, if there are other opportunities for us to have increased supply, right, from other organizations that need our help, we are willing to help. Only if it's feasible, we have to really look into it and how best our Eusoffians can give to these organizations. Yeah.